Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Join hosts Dan Melnick and Qasim Masood as they explore big ideas, limitless possibilities, and engage with visionaries, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders who dare to dream big, get inspired, motivated, and find practical tips for personal growth. Think big, dream bigger, and ignite your potential.
Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim, and our guest today is Julie. So Julie, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, tell us where you live and what you do.
Yes. Well, thanks for having me first off. So Julie Carty, live in San Diego, California. I am the founder of a product called Latchlight, which is a hands-free wearable nightlight for new moms and parents so that they don't have to turn on a bright light every couple of hours when they're during their infant night feeding stages. And then their hands are free to hold baby. And it's a particular color and temperature, so it doesn't disrupt melatonin production, with a special silicone tip. So it helps a new mom that's breastfeeding with latch positioning. So that is Latchlight in a nutshell.
So I'm just curious about your background. Like, have you always been like an entrepreneur? Like, what kind of inspired you to go and come up with this idea and start this business?
Sure. Well, I come from a family of entrepreneurs, so I think that's been in my blood. But I didn't turn entrepreneur until when I started working on my idea about, well, now it's been when the idea came in about, call it 4 years ago. No, professionally, I worked for the same company out of college for close to almost 14 years in medical hospital sales. So calling on hospitals and helping them improve preventable harm and improve patient experience and outcomes. And so, but I've always been thinking, like, what is my idea that I'm going to work on? And then I became a mom. And of course, you've got a billion problems. And so then my mind started thinking about, what can I invent to help moms navigate the hardest part when you're a new mom, which is the infant night feeding stage when you're absolutely exhausted.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I feel like salespeople are typically like some of the best entrepreneurs because when you're doing sales, you have to be pretty resilient. You're getting like rejected a lot. People are turning you down. So you kind of are able to build that momentum because, entrepreneurship is obviously not easy. It's like a lot of ups and downs.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. There are a lot of parallels. If you're going to be an entrepreneur, it's probably pretty similar to a sales rep in that you're going to need to have thick skin because there's going to be a lot of highs and a lot of lows. Some days you get the sales and some days you don't. And then there's always logistical problems that happen once you do get the sales. And I think I was in sales, but I was in a unique role within sales. I was in distribution hospital sales. So I was responsible for getting every SKU in a disposable SKU in a hospital, which is every single item. And so I also dealt with a lot of logistics in my sales role, which I did think helps my journey as an entrepreneur because now I understand packing lists and all of the operations that go into it versus just being the salesperson. So I think I was a little bit more uniquely set up into creating this product, but still a lot of things that I did not know when I was going into creating this product that I learned as well along this journey.
So were you doing like field sales? Or were you kind of like going out to hospitals and meeting with doctors, for example?
Yeah. So I was based in Southern California. So about 8 years of my role at Medline, that was the company I worked for, Medline. I specialized in preventing preventable harm. So there are never events in a hospital. So like having pneumonia when you're on a ventilator or having a urinary tract infection when you have a catheter. So there are certain never events or hospital acquired infections that they're called that I specialized in. So my main call point was actually with nursing and nursing leadership and the chief nursing officer at the hospital and infection prevention. But then it extended all the way through to supply chain because Medline not only is a manufacturer, we're a distributor. And so at the end of my career, I was the divisional sales manager in Southern California, in San Diego and surrounding regions. And so I dealt with the COVID distribution challenges and, like everything is made in China. So it lended itself to the supply chain disaster. It rolled over right into healthcare supplies, including N95 masks, PPE. And I think after working these crazy stressful days and having my idea and having 2 kids, I thought, this is my catalyst for change. I want to work for myself and I want to kind of reap the rewards of the stress of putting in all those hours. And so that's when I transitioned out. So
in terms of actually, that definitely makes sense. And like, as you said, right, having like that background in supply chain and working in that. So how did you kind of find your manufacturing partner when you were making this product? Did you look stateside or overseas? What did that process kind of look like?
Yeah, and that's obviously also an interesting conversation as we're having it now in our current political climate with tariffs. And so I tried very hard to find a US based manufacturer, and really anywhere but China, right? And so especially knowing, the ups and downs of the tariffs. And as a small business, it was nearly impossible to find a manufacturer here that would take me on at a MOQ, which is a minimum order quantity that a small business needs to start with. I wasn't able to put in a 10,000, quantity SKU order. And that's what a lot of US based manufacturers would, have, especially to get it at the price point you need, right, for that market. And because my product is an electronic, so it has an LED and a battery, it's all coming from China anyways, the parts, regardless, even if I manufactured it here, it all was coming from China. And so it was just truly not feasible. We tried really hard to keep it here, but we really couldn't. Even with the tariff that's on our product, I still would not be able to manufacture it here, unfortunately. So what that process looked like, how did I find my manufacturer? Well, it was that was something obviously new. Even though I was with a company that did manufacturing and distribution, that was something I had to start from scratch and learn on my own. We honestly started off with Upwork. If you're familiar with Upwork, it's actually been a godsend for a small business entrepreneur, because you can find literally anyone on there, from a patent attorney to a manufacturer in China. And so we started off with Upwork, and then we ended up, and that's how we worked with our first prototypes. But then ultimately, how we found our current manufacturer is we did hire a US based firm that does help with design to getting things manufactured, that help us find manufacturers, along with honestly reaching out to people from Alibaba that manufacture similar items. And then we started an RFQ process that way. And then we ended up going to China and interviewing our final 2 manufacturers, because we wanted to know who we were literally getting in bed with, right? We're creating a bed product. So we went and vetted, and we went to China ourselves to then select our final manufacturer. And they've been really great to work with.
So how much and I know it's always an interesting question, especially now with tariffs. I think it's an even a more interesting conversation. And it's I know, especially when it comes to suppliers for startups and smaller MOQs, there's a lot more negotiation happening. So I'm curious in terms of that process. Did you have to go back and forth and negotiate a lot to for a smaller MOQ and cost and all that? Because I feel to your point, right, that you are essentially getting embedded with your supplier, but on top of that, they're sort of investing in you and your startup, because they don't know if you're going to be big, et cetera. So I guess what did that process kind of look like for you?
So as part of RFQ with the manufacturers, we actually had a template built out where they gave us pricing at an order quantity for literally 500, 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, 100,000. And I made them give us pricing across all the spectrums for those quantities. And so that's in our contract in terms of what our pricing is set at. And then the pricing in terms of it's valid for I think our pricing terms now, it's probably coming up on renewal, but they were valid for 2 years. Of course, there's always the asterisk in case a crazy industry crisis happens, there's a shortage of silicone, or, there's obviously some protections in place for the manufacturer, which I totally understand. But yeah, we made sure upfront, as a small business, we wanted to make sure that we had the pricing to hopefully get to, so that we know that when we grow, our pricing will come down.
And then I guess now, if you've gone back recently to try and negotiate or renegotiate, because obviously with all your product coming from China, I'm sure that your margins are taking a hit. So what does that kind of look like for you?
So fortunately, we did place a decently large order prior to the tariffs in anticipation of the tariffs coming in. So we are in a good spot from inventory that we have here in the US. Another thing that we're in a really good spot on is that I attended a baby and kids show. It's the largest show. It's called K&J, and it's an international show. And when I went last year in September, I was able to pick up about 5 or 6 international distributors. And so my product right now is shipping directly from my manufacturer in China to Europe. And therefore there is no tariff involved on that, because it's from the origin. So from those 2 perspectives, we are in a good position. I'd say better position than brands that have solely just focused on the US. I don't know if it was the right move or the wrong move. I guess right now it was the right move, but my sales are larger in Europe than they are in the US as I grow our direct to consumer and retail business here. So we're in a good spot. In terms of your original question, I think was, have we gone back and renegotiated? Well, we are actually working on, now that we've been out in the market for, it'll be our 1-year anniversary in June, which is crazy. But now that we've been out in the market, there's a couple design tweaks now that we, like our 2.0 version that we're working on. So some of that conversation is involved though with a design change. So it's a little bit more complicated than just like, hey, what's our better price on this particular product?
Makes sense. And then, so in terms of selling it into Europe, I'm curious about what that channel looks like. 'Cause obviously it's different than many people that come on the show, especially for an American brand. So are you selling there on Amazon? Are you selling there like in stores? Like, what does that process kind of look like?
Yeah. So the way that market looks like, they are solely based on a distribution model. What that means is a distributor approaches me and we court each other and see if we're the right fit for each other. I have actually a background questionnaire that they would need to fill out if they want to represent my brand. And so what that means is they are literally they are Latchlight in Portugal, or they are Latchlight in the UK. And so they ask for exclusive rights. And usually the time frame is 1 to 2 years where they sell your product. And so I'm going in. So in the Netherlands, for example, I'm getting put into like 89 retail stores but that's solely, so I sell the price. I have a distribution price. And so I sell it to the distributor and then they sell it directly to their customers. And so they've got a mixture. They're doing direct to consumer over there. They even have their own Instagram with Latchlight over there that they own that Instagram handle for the term of our agreement. And then they are selling into retail. So, which is really cool to see because I get tagged in a lot of stories in different languages that I don't even know what they're saying, but I see my product in moms and babies all across the world right now. And it's quite surreal to see that, but that's how that model works. It's one sell price to them. And then they have it for the term of our agreement in hopes that we get reorders and that we continue our agreements and that it's a great relationship going forward. But this is my first time at it. So it's all new to me.
That's awesome. I feel like also in terms of retail, it's interesting because, you sort of created this category, right? It's a very new thing. So when you have your product in a retail store, how do you kind of get that message across and explaining your product?
So funny. I literally just got delivered. I will bring it over here so you can see it.
Sure, yeah.
How do I sell it? So I had these retail display boxes made. Whoops. Sorry about that. Where this is a video that plays my commercial because you're absolutely right. My product is a little unique. It doesn't exist. It's a completely new product. There's nothing on the market that is a tool for moms to use to help with adjusting a baby's lips for latching. It's the only wearable nightlight. It's glow in the dark. It's not very obvious when you walk over to it, although I'm pretty certain I made my packaging as obvious as possible.
Right.
I'm very proud of my packaging, and it does explain it. I also, knowing that this isn't like, oh, that's just another tap nightlight.
Exactly.
I would need to have something a little bit further. So I have these retail boxes that are made so that this plays this beautiful video in the background that you can, once you see the video playing, it's so obvious of what this does and what it is. So you're right. I had to get a little bit unique because I'm a new category. I'm a white space. And that's why I'm also patent pending.
So are your distributors translating that video into different languages? Or
yes.
What is that?
So exactly. So I have specific boxes that I made for EU that has a QR code on the front, and the QR code, this isn't it, but it's basically a QR code right here. Well, when they scan it, it translates this whole packaging in any language that they select. So I did it in the form of a QR code. And then this video, absolutely, it has the lines translated in all the different languages for whatever they select. And then the video is so visual that even the word, like you won't even need to see the words to understand it. But yeah, everything, that's been a whole other, step in the process of going international is my packaging, my instruction insert is right now translated in 12 different languages. Yeah.
That's awesome. And then in terms of your goals, right, I'm curious about that as well, because with your product, lifetime value is probably one, maybe somebody will buy it again if it breaks, etc. So are you planning on coming out with other products that are kind of complementary to your main product, or what is your vision from that perspective?
Sure. So when I set out on this journey, I, wasn't 100% certain of the answer to this question. And I still don't know the right answer to this question, but it's really one of two things. It's I'm just me. This is my product. I've been self-funded. Really, it's been something that's been a big risk for me to do. And so I'm at a point where either I need to bring on an investor to expand the product line to complementary products, all formed around the concept of helping. My parent company is Light Ahead. So Light Ahead is the parent company. It's like, that's my Mattel and this is my Barbie. But I have other products that I do want to launch that are all around perseverance through parenthood at night. So just navigating the nights and some similar products. And so if I want to do that route, I would definitely need to bring on an investor and take that step. Or I've had a couple of companies, major brand companies, that have already reached out to me, that have inquired about if I would be willing to sell my product, what's my IP behind it. And so, that package is also interesting to me. So it's one of those two routes. It's either go big and expand Light Ahead, or become part of a larger brand that has already the resources to get this out into the marketplace.
So option two, you more of like a licensing play, essentially.
Yeah, licensing play or sell the company or the product. Yeah, exactly. I have only one other SKU at this point in time that is just really like an add-on giveaway, which are these like Sleep Better Dark Out stickers. So it's really my product mix right now. As of right now is 2 SKUs. So what these are, a lot of baby gadgets have, and honestly, any gadget, these aren't just for babies, but any gadgets that have those on lights that never make your room dark, like your TV on light or the humidifier light. It's just always this like light noise. And so these are cute little stickers that you would put on top to literally black out those on lights, because even, believe it or not, those status lights on your electronics have an effect on your melatonin production. So this is my product mix at this point. So yeah, so licensing or selling, or I just add to my mix here.
So, obviously now we're here in Q2 2025. So what are some of your biggest goals and objectives for the rest of this year?
So I have my big shows that I'm going to, which are ABC Kids, which is the US based retail show for the baby and kids world. I'm going back to K&J again. And then I've got 2 more shows. And so I'm really hoping to pick up some more and bigger retailers at these shows. That's my goal. And then simultaneously grow direct to consumer sales. But that's been an interesting game for me because I'm a single SKU at this point. And so it's very expensive to spend a lot of ad money when I don't have like a repeat product, because I spend so much on the acquisition. So it's really to grow my retail brand this year and increase my marketing and awareness.
So if you could go back in time to 4 years ago, before you even started this whole process, what would you say is the one biggest piece of advice that you wish you knew?
I would say the marketing budget was the social media and the marketing budget. I think you think, oh my, you're on your phone. And so you have this, you get influencers thrown at you all the time just for your own stuff. And so you think, oh my gosh, this is a great idea. And then once I have it and I get it to some influencers, this is really going to take off. So I really underestimated the direct to consumer side of business. I've always, obviously, in my professional background, have been a business to business relationship. And so I definitely underestimated direct to consumer social media marketing. So that I would say I wish I had accounted for a larger budget for that. But, and I'd say also that if you're going to be an entrepreneur, there's definitely going to be a lot of highs and a lot of lows. And so you're going to need to, which is why it's always a very commonly failed journey, right? You need to be able to ride the wave. And I'm literally in the thick of a swell, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, so I think, but again, sales had me kind of prepared for that mindset. But I would say for anyone that's new, you would need to be able to take on a lot of risk and highs and lows, emotionally, physically.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's not easy, and it's not for most people. So if somebody watching this wanted to buy your product or wanted to reach out to you, do you mind sharing your website, social media?
Absolutely.
I guess best ways to get in contact.
I would love to share my information. So it's my website where you can buy it directly. It's from us. It's www.shoplatchlight.com, literally latchlight.com. And then my Instagram is just Latchlight. And we're also available on Amazon. We're also available on buybuy-baby.com. We're also available on walmart.com. And so you can really just throw us in the Google and find us that way as well. We're available on several different retailers. So.
Thanks so much for your time today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.